Hi, and very good afternoon to you. It's Jim from maverickstar Observatory. Coming up in the video, I've got the organic camera out, and I thought I'd show you what's been going on here at the observatory in the background. Just a little show you around the workshop, really, or the workroom where we build a lot of the components. And I thought I'd just share a couple of the projects that I've got undergoing at the moment to try and help, support my end, the observatory. Before we do get into also the Earth Alpha at a glance, I would like to say a big thanks to Kenneth, Jan, and a super big thanks to John C for your help and support and continued support of this observatory for the time that you've been with me. I am trying to get us in a situation financially where we don't have to depend so much on public funding, but until that happens, unfortunately we're going to have to just carry on the way we are if we want to move forward. Big thanks. Also big thanks for a few people that have been concerned about my recent health scare, and I've got to say this, I'm still a little bit annoyed at the GP for coming to the conclusions as fast as she did in saying that I'd got cancer of the lungs based on an x-ray that I'd taken, because to me that was like somebody sending me a photograph of the car and me turning round on the basis of the photograph saying that the engine's blown up in it, or me having a look at the dipstick at the condition of the oil and saying, I'm sorry, the engine's blown up as a result of that, you need to get rid of it quickly, or have the engine replaced quickly. Because in both cases of that scenario, it could be anything. And like with the GP telling me I'd got lung cancer, I just felt that there were further examinations and areas to explore before you confirm that to at least the patient. But I will be saying something to her based on the conclusions of the next CT scan and biopsy that we have, because that should be the conclusion of this matter as far as I'm concerned. If you've got a sample of the the material that is causing the problem, surely you can make a highly accurate conclusion based on that. Let's just say that. It's not the best choice of words, but with that, now I've had like this will be the second CT scan, but they want to leave the CT scan running whilst they do the biopsy so that they can target the area of the lung more specifically. But I will say this, apart from sometimes having this tickly cough, I'm fine. I don't feel like I've got shortness of breath. I don't feel lethargic or ill, although weeks ago I was coughing like crazy, and because of that I weren't able to go to sleep, and also because of the amount of coughing that I was doing, I'd created fissures inside my lung, which was where the blood was coming from when I was coughing. And the more I coughed, I just removed the clot that had healed over that fissure at the time, and through coughing, it would cause it to bleed again, and of course that would then start the coughing off. And I don't know what it is, when the coughing starts, it's like annoying because you can't control it. Someone said in the video the other day, it weren't till the end of the video that you started to cough. In other words, I was making it up. In fact, we've had a couple of really nasty people, and we get these people in the world. You just can't help it when you're dealing with numbers of people like we have on our channel. You're going to get the horrible ones as well as the good ones. And someone said to me, if you haven't got these ailments that you're saying, or this isn't really happening in your life, then I'm going to go to the press and I'm going to report you for this, that and the other. I just said, carry on. I said, it's all on medical records in any case. You do what you feel you need to in your little bubble. I think I did call him a dirty human being for even suggesting that I would even make up such a thing. Ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. But okay, let's get on with it. Earth Alpha at a glance, and then you can have a look at the organic video done of the observatory build room, if you like. So Earth Alpha at a glance, starting with CO2. You can see it's at 431 parts per million. We know that because we've got the equipment, guys. And you know, with one of us having at least that equipment, at least all of us are able to be in the knowledge of how many parts per million there is. And you know, if you go back over the archives of the data, you'll see by how much it fluctuates. You don't need to be 7,000 feet in Hawaii in some observatory to take CO2. You can take it anywhere you want, as long as, you know, like any scientific experiment, you repeat it the same every time you do it, and you will see the changes in the results. Well, for us, we sometimes see a fluctuation out of about a maximum of 20 parts per million, plus or minus. So, you know, in any case, 431 parts per million is nothing to be concerned about, as we always talk about on this channel. Moving on to the oxygen, as we would expect, it's over 21%, actually 21.14%, which is a good amount of oxygen in our reservoir in the atmosphere. You imagine that 20% of our oxygen is, 20% of our atmosphere is just oxygen. I think there's around about 70 to 80%, 70% nitrogen, which is a lot, which is what we're breathing in all the time, as well as oxygen. I think we only use about 8% of the actual oxygen that we inhale in any case. The rest just gets, you know, when we expire our breath, you know, oxygen and CO2 comes out as well. The longitude and latitude of the latest position of the magnetic North Pole was from the 17th of last month, so we were expecting it to be a little bit of a change from the actual figures there, but we don't pop the SD card out every week like we do with the CO2 detector, simply because it's something that we've done from the beginning. We've let it run for the whole month, and every 3 seconds it collects a sample, and at the end of the month we calculate the new position of the magnetic North Pole based on all the data that we've collected over the month. Again, if you repeat the experiment the same way, then you are going to see slight variations at the end, which are more likely to be accurate. Whereas if you didn't repeat the experiment the same way, you're just adding more random uncertainties to it, aren't you? So, moving on to volcanoes in eruption. We only cover the ones that are actually in eruption, again as a footprint, somewhere to start off with. As you can see, we've got 28 in eruption around the world, and we calculate, we don't calculate, but we get from USGS the latest earthquake for you within the last 24 hours, and it will only be accurate within that point in time at which we was on USGS. You know, and as you can see, it was a 5.3 in that region that's you know, mentioned there. Muons per hour, again, bespoke piece of equipment. A bit later on in the video you'll see what's actually inside a muon detector. We're at 519 muons per hour per square metre. That again fluctuates here in the UK very little. It might be again the same as the CO2 by a factor of 20 muons plus or minus per given week or month. So there's not a lot of change in the muons at the moment. Sunspot numbers is 1 at the moment. There's 1 numbered region on the disk. We've got a quiet geomagnetic field, and the solar X-rays are normal, thankfully. Moving down, we are still in a situation where the jet streams are unsettled and you know, not stable because of the amount of cosmic rays that are inbound through a weakened heliosphere regarding the grand solar minimum, and also a weakened magnetosphere due to the Earth going through a magnetic reversal. And you can see just where we've got our magnetometers at the moment. So in Canada, unstable because we've got a depleting intensity over there. Gold Coast is stable, Perth is stable, and Tucson, Arizona is stable. I will be in touch with our superstar over there in the Gold Coast of Australia and in Tucson, Arizona, because we haven't had any data from them for a couple of months now. So I might just drop them a line, see what's going on there, and hopefully we can retrieve a bit of data for us and add it to the website like we do all the rest of the stuff. So I'm going to run the video of the organic camera of our build room at the observatory, and you can see what projects we've got going on there. So without further ado, let's get into that. Mentioned at the beginning of the video, I'd give you a little tour of where we build a lot of the components for the observatory. I've got to say, this room is really untidy. It's one of the smallest rooms in the property, but this is where I can put all my tools and equipment and stuff, and it's just literally everywhere. We've got the 3D printer running at the moment, building the laser. But yeah, this room and women don't usually get on. This room's probably been responsible for a lot of my relationships ending because of the amount of time that I've literally spend in here. I'll just show you a few things that we've got going on at the moment. There's a couple of projects. Obviously, I've teamed up with a company, and I'm just in the process of building that technology that they'll need to transmit people's messages off Earth and out into space, out into deep space, actually beyond our galaxy. Anyone that knows anything about photons, and lasers, that is exactly what lasers do. They emit photons, and I've incorporated a technology which enables the laser to be submerged with data, a little bit like fibre optics, only lasers are directional, whereas fibre optics can be bent round objects, but it's the same sort of technology. So we can run digital and audio and video through lasers, and then shoot those out into space by directing the laser beam, and that's what we're building here. This is just building the lower section of the laser housing. This is the upper section. I chose it to be a little bit futuristic in design, as opposed to just a square tube or a round tube. So the lower housing, as you can see, which is being printed there, will go on to the upper housing, which is this part. It's got a cap that goes on there, and then a hole for the laser. That's the compartment where the laser fits through into the upper tube, and there's a lot of other electronics and bits and bobs that go in the bottom of that. But yeah, guys, you patrons, I promised that I would get you a message out into space for sticking with us, and you get it free of charge. And I've told ULM, the company that we're teaming up with this, that's got to be the case, and they've agreed to do that, so I'm happy with that. These are our muon detectors. You can see the little computer breakout board there, and I don't know whether you can see just how intricate some of the components that are on there. Some of them we have to, well, most of them in fact, we have to hold with tweezers where we solder them on there. And that's the little computer breakout board. There's an amplifying circuit on the back there, and then two squares that you can see, the two rectangles, and a peak hold. So the silicon photon multiplier is there in the centre. One of the dearest components of the muon detectors, that comes in around about £118 sterling with delivery. And then we have the cinculate crystal that as the muons travel through it, that tiny faint bit of light that the crystal enables to happen gets detected by the photon multiplier, which is a really sensitive light sensor, really. That's all it is. But state of the art, there isn't another larger sensor than what you're looking at there on the market. So these get used in a lot of applications. The only other thing we've got going on are the Clogged silver generators. These are the new buck converters that we're putting in there. These just allow us and the user now to adjust the voltage on them, so that they can increase the voltage or decrease it. We've gone for a smaller pump this time, and they've put some foam insulation around there. I guess that is just to insulate it and keep the noise down of the pump a little bit. And obviously I've put a little bit of pipe on there just to make sure we've got the right diameter of pipe. on there. But look at the gauge of silver that we use on our colloidal silver generators. It's 10 gauge or 3mm for those that use metric, and pure silver 999 quality. And you know, I think you know, they're the best on the market compared to what I've seen, and people that have brought the other version of this agree so as well. So the only thing different between this and the previous prototype that I built is that there is a variable attenuation adjuster on there, so that you can adjust the voltage. So if you're not happy about the speed at which it's producing colloidal silver, you can adjust it and make it run a little bit quicker. But what you've got to remember is the more voltage you put in there, the bigger molecules of silver you actually knock off the rods. And you know, the better quality silver, colloidal silver, is obviously that is generated off a good quality silver rod and very low voltages. We put the pumps on the colloidal silver generators really just to knock off the molecules of silver off the rods in there. This is something that nobody else is using on the market, and the only other thing that we're going to add is a nice bright LED to the tank, so that when, you know, all the components are on there and it's running, you get a light in there so you can see it's on, and it'll look quite nice actually. I mean, it's aesthetic really more than anything else, or I suppose it's a good indication that you can see it is on and it's working. The only other thing that we've changed is, because these buck converters come with a USB lead, we're including a USB lead with the colloidal silver generator, and you'll have the option to disconnect it. So you'll be able to, instead of, you want to, like if you want to leave it in your kitchen on the work surface and it's not in use, you can just pull the lead off and keep it, you know, lead free on the surface. And that's the projects that we've got going on. The laser and the business with that other company is to generate money for the observatory, so that we don't keep on having to ask. So hopefully, you know, we can generate some money from that. These colloidal silver generators, I don't particularly like building them because I've built that many now that I'm getting bored of doing it. But what I'm going to try and do is get them manufactured. So all this plastic that you see here, that takes 13 hours just to do that top part there, and probably another 2.5 hours each for the top final cap, can be, you know, we can save that time because it takes 13 hours to print on the 3D printer. So you can imagine how many hours have gone into printing these already. This particular print that we've got going on is 26 hours. That's the lower part of this. This one took around about 25 hours. And the only other thing that this room serves as a purpose as is to, you'll have to excuse my poor choice in DVDs, but you know, it's a good place to put the master at the moment. This is our master for the Trimag system. You can see there's a little LED that flashes every 3 seconds, and it's just an indicator to tell me that it's received a piece of data from the slave unit, which is in the loft about 20 feet away, which is sending the signal through the transceiver here, and then going in through the Arduino, and then running through the data logger and putting it onto the SD card, which is on the back there. And then also the other thing we do is measure the magnetosphere strength from here in the UK with that device up there, which is set to flash that red light every 15 minutes. And that's similar to all the other devices that we've got, like in Arizona, where else? Canada, Australia and Hong Kong, and hopefully other places. So, you know, that's a little bit of a look behind the scenes of what we've got going on. You know, we're trying to help ourselves here at the observatory, try and generate a bit of revenue as well. So, you know, I do all I can here as well, guys, as well as, you know, just ask for a bit of support from you guys out there to, you know, help things carry on. But obviously, you know, if any one of these projects that we've got here, like this laser, was to take off, we wouldn't need to ask for support. But until, then, the only other way of keeping the public observatory running is by, people supporting what we do, and therefore it enables us to keep producing, muon detectors, magnetometers, and if we need to buy equipment, we can. I mean, that's our oxygen sensor with the state-of-the-art Luminox sensor in there, and then we've got the CO2 sensor. I mean, anyone can buy these. Anyone can buy the background radiation detectors and make measurements themselves. But the idea of us buying them here at the observatory, so that hundreds of you don't have to do it. So it's already, if one person's got it and shares the information with the rest of us, we're all in the same boat with the data that we collect off these things. So there you go, guys. A little bit of a look behind the scenes of the maverickstar Observatory, and a look at some of the projects that we're doing currently. Guys, as always, there's a link down there if you want to help support us. We are still an observatory, and public observatory at that, and if you want to help support us, the links are there. And the only other thing to say is, guys, have an amazing day with your loved ones, and as always, bye for now.